Lori. Welcome back to another video here at my YouTube channel. I'm glad you guys are here today. Today we're going to be using the new My Monthly Hero kit from Hero Arts. This is one of their subscription kits. It's actually my first kit that I've gotten from them, and it was just a lot of fun to play with. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is walk you through everything you get in the kit so you can kind of get a good idea of that. This is just the regular classic kit. They do have a premium kit that you can buy. I already have several other subscriptions. So for me personally, it just worked out better for me to just do the classic kit. First of all, it comes in this really cute little zipper pouch that you can store all of your stuff in. If you are like me and have limited crafting space, having something that's small and compact to keep all of your pieces in that go together is really, really good. So love that. All right, so we'll pull this out, and these are some cute little shaker bits. I'm going to go ahead and just pull out everything, and then we'll kind of just go through it really quick. You get a lot of bang for your buck, that's for sure, with these kits. This is the Hero Arts Intensified Black ink. This is my first time using that, so we'll use that today. Some cute little shaker bits. Those, we're not going to use those today, but I see a shaker card in my future with those for sure. You get a beautiful background stamp with all these different fruits. We are going to use this today as one of our predominant pieces. So much you can do with the background stamp. You can heat emboss it and blend over it. You can stamp it and ink blend over it, which is what we're going to do today. You can even just stamp it, and I've seen people color in each individual piece of fruit for a very pretty background. So lots to do with that. You get a stamp set with some cute pieces of fruit. There's a lemon, and there's some kiwi, and some strawberries, and all these different little punny type fruit sayings. Bananas for you, squeeze the day, you're sweet to the core, have a grape day, wishing you health, all of that. And then the coordinating die cuts to go with those stamps. Those we're going to use today as well. We're going to do some stamping and some die cutting. Always good to have die cuts to go with things, because if you're like me, I can't cut worth anything freehand. And I think this is watercolor paper, which is fantastic, because watercolor is another area that I am looking to improve a little bit on. So nice watercolor paper. That's definitely going to be used in the future as well. And then finally, we have 6 pieces of cardstock, 3 kiwi and 3 pieces of coral cardstock in there to coordinate all together. So just kind of lay everything back out so you can see you can just see it all together. Like I said, this is the classic kit. It was great for the price point. With the premium kit, it's a little bit more. You get a few extra things with it. But for me personally, this did just what I needed it to do. Okay, so we'll go over a little bit what we're going to use today. I'm going to use the coordinating die cuts, the stamps, as well as the background stamp. I'm going to do some ink blending over our background. I chose some lighter colors, dried marigold, shabby shutters, and candied apple. As always, I've gone ahead and prepped a few things. This is our top folding 4.5 by 5 1/4 note card from 110-pound cardstock. I always use a heavier card base so that it will stand up when you hold up the card. I also have a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. I'm going to be doing our ink blending on this. When I'm going to do a lot of ink blending, I prefer the Bristol Smooth cardstock over the Nina Solar White. But I do have a piece of Nina Solar White that we're going to use for our stamping and die cutting. So it doesn't really matter what size it is, because we're going to cut stuff out of it anyway. But let's start first with our background stamp. So I'm just going to peel that side off, the backing off of it. It's a red rubber cling stamp, and I've put down my paper on my stick and stamp mat in my MISTI. When you use a a cling stamp, you need to take out that foam piece that's in your MISTI, otherwise your door won't close. I'm going to lay down my stamp on my paper, and then I'm going to close the door and kind of press down so I get a good seal on that. And then I'm going to pick up my stamp and make sure my paper's down. And then I'm going to take the little ink cube that was in the kit. It was hard to get it open for whatever reason, I don't know, but it was challenging. So I'm just going to go over, and because the cube is pretty small and the stamp was pretty big, it took me a few minutes, or not a few minutes, but it took me a little bit to get it inked up. So I just kind of going to speed this up, and then I got it all inked up and everything. And when I use cling stamps, big stamps like this on my MISTI, I'm always afraid that the stamp is going to fall off the door when I go to close it. So I made sure my paper was really stuck to my mat down there. And then I don't close the door. I close the back end over the other way. So you're going to bring paper to stamp instead of stamp to paper. I'm going to flip this shut, and then I will pick up the whole thing and turn it over so that way I know that it's all together. And it's a big surface area stamp. So I am just going to get a good impression on that, like we always do with our little tool. Get that in there, and then really take your time. Like I said, there's just a lot of surface area to cover. Flip it back over so that the stamp doesn't fall off of there and mess up our background. And then we have this super cute fruity background for our stamp. I actually ended up doing it twice just to make sure that I had a very good coverage on there. So that is that. We're gonna set that off to the side and let that ink dry. You could just also hit it with your heat tool if you have an embossing gun or a heat gun, but we have other things that we can go on and do. So we're gonna go on to our stamping and our die cutting. This is something you've seen me do several times over the last couple of videos, stamping on die cuts. I went ahead and cut out our 3 die cut pieces that we will use. I just ran them all through my my spell binders using the grapes, the orange, and the tomato, because I figured those were fruits that went well with the colors that I had chosen for the background. So I'm going to take the negative pieces and line those up just as we've done before, but first I'm going to stamp our base images. We'll get those down. Okay, so I'm going to do our base images first so that we can die cut them. I think I thought about doing all 3 of them together, but then decided that it would just be easier for me to just do one at a time. So I'm going to start with this little bunch of grapes right here. Close the door. We'll pick that up on our MISTI, and then we'll just stamp it really quick. Like I said, this is just our base image so we can know where to line up our negative. And this is the part, that little lid on the little mini cube was challenging to get off of there. So that's why it took me a hot second there. Stamp that up, close the door, just get us a good basic image there so we know where to line our negative piece up. It was pretty simple. You just lined up, left a little white space around. It slid into place, pretty easily. I'm going to put my magnet there just to hold it once I get it all situated. Put that down. Sometimes it's just those little tiny adjustments you want to make sure that you get into place. So I'm going to put my magnet there. And then I'll come in with my die cut piece. Oh, I put a little piece of tape there just to make sure that it held all the way. And then I will grab my die cut piece and remember to put a little bit of adhesive temporary adhesive on the back to stick it down so that it doesn't come up when you pick up your Misty door from your stamp. Our stamp is still over there on our Misty door, so we will get a good inking on our stamp this time. I'll close the door and get that all in there. Grab my little tool. And there's our die cut. I believe I stamped it 2 or 3 times. There was one little part on it, one little grape that for whatever reason I just couldn't get to stamp the way that I wanted it to. I don't know if maybe the magnet sometimes keeps the door from closing all the way, but those are our grapes. And so we'll move on and we'll do the orange the same way, stamped the base. I'm just going to kind of speed this up because the process is pretty much the same. Lined it up, secured the paper down, popped in the die cut with a little bit of adhesive on there. Stamp up our image again, our stamp again, and close that down. And there's our orange and our orange slice. Again, I stamped it twice. And then I went ahead and repeated that same process with the little tomato as well. So now we're going to do some coloring, and I'm just going to do a little bit of Copic coloring. Now, Copic coloring is one of those things that when I have a small image like this, I don't worry too much about doing a bunch of shading. I'm not a Copic expert, a Copic marker expert. There are a ton of people out there that are certified Copic marker people, and they do beautiful things with Copic markers. Me, I like to color, but I don't like to color to the point where it frustrates me. So I'm just going to color this stuff in really quick. It's not the focal point of this card, so I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm going to start with this orange, and I will link the colors that I used in the video description. I actually used 2 colors for this one. I believe this is YR15. I went around the outside, but like I said, I'll go back and check and see exactly what they are. Total, it took me probably about 3 to 4, 5 minutes to color each one. I'm just going to go here and kind of start it, and then I will speed it up so that it doesn't take up a whole lot of time. Just gonna do that. I brought in sort of a lighter color for the fleshy part of the orange slice, and then went back to that darker color for the main part of the orange. Like I said, small images like this, just lay down the color and get it done. I wasn't looking to do a whole lot of shading and things like that. So I'm gonna do the orange or the green leaf, and there's our orange. I used that same green that I used on the leaf and the orange for the grapes. Decided to do green grapes because I know a lot of people always do purple grapes, but because we had green in our background, I wanted to make sure that I complemented that. And again, just laying down some color, kind of being gentle with it. As I was coloring these though, I do know, and like I said, I'm just going to speed up through here. I do know that my mistake in this though was I probably didn't let the ink on the stamped image dry quite long enough. It did show some bleeding, especially in the orange slice. So little note to myself and for future reference, I don't know if that ink is really meant for Copic coloring or if I needed to just let it dry a little bit more. So there are the 3. I went ahead and did the tomato off screen. So we can set those aside, and now we can come back to our background from earlier because our ink on the background is now nice and dry. I did not do any heat embossing on this image because I really wanted it to just sort of be a soft background and not a bold black shiny through or emboss resisting background. So I'm just going to start with the candied apple, and I'm using my media mat here so that the colors, so I can blend the colors well. And I'm just going to start off of the edge of the mat and bring that color in slowly. And right now, I'm just going to lay down the 3 colors. I'm not worried too much about blending. I'm going to try to do basically, to spread them out evenly along our card. So the top will be the candied apple red, and then we'll come in with our dried marigold here in the center. I'm going to wipe up that little area right there so that I don't bleed over any color that I don't want onto parts of the cardstock that I don't want. And the marigold, like I said, will go into the center. Going to turn it and just start off of that edge again. Come down the center, just blending, laying down that color, not too worried about all the blending. And then I did speed it up here a little bit. I repeated the same thing with the shabby shutters. Kind of just came down and laid down that color along the bottom edge. Actually, that ends up being the top part of the card. So, and then I just went over and redid the blending again, laid down another layer of color. And then this time is when I really went in and sort of blended those edges together so that it all flowed well and I didn't have any harsh lines. So there's our cute little fruity background. I wanted it to be pretty soft, mainly because the images were a little bit more bold. And so I wanted the background to be a little softer. So I'm going to go ahead and do the sentiment. I have laid down the fruit around the edge, kind of where I think I'm going to want it to go. This is just for me to get an idea of where to place the sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and do the sentiment first, so that way I can, 1, know that I have room for the sentiment, and 2, know that I can put the fruit where I want it to be. So as always, I'm going to pop in my cardstock here to my Misty, and I will just I evidently adjust the camera angle for you. Lay that down. I still have the stamp where I want it. I just moved it carefully. Close the door. And I did use the little ink cube again. I tried to keep everything for this card within the kit itself, other than the distress oxide inks that we used for the blending of the background. Again, that little cube took me forever to open up. I'm gonna stamp that. This stamp says, "Wishing you good health." I thought that was just a cute little saying. If you have a good fitness friend or workout partner, this would be a great little card to send to them. Or if you take like fitness classes locally, would be a great option. Okay, so now I decided that I wanted to add a little bit of black edging around the background. I didn't want to add another layer of black cardstock. So but I wanted there to be a little bit of definition here around the edge. So this is also where I will tell you, I actually ended up trimming this whole piece down a little bit more, and you'll see when you see the final card, you'll see where I did that. It was a little bigger than I wanted it to be, so I trimmed it down and then re-edged it. I'm going to place our sentiment and our center panel onto a kind of offset it with a little piece of black cardstock. That is so that our middle piece there doesn't get lost in that background, and then we'll raise that up a little bit. It just provides a little bit of separation between the two elements of the card. It's almost like having a little shadow behind there. I'm just going to run my tape runner there, and I will add that with that little offset border for our card, or for our back piece there. Lay that down. And then I'm gonna pop that up on some dimensional adhesive in a few seconds, but I'm gonna go ahead and build our card. Since we're gonna have some dimension on our card, we're gonna go ahead and build up from the bottom up of our card. You don't wanna do all your dimension adhesive and then do your flat adhesive, because it can squash down the pieces that you've put your dimension on. Just using my tape runner, and I'm going to put that in the center of our card. And but like I said, true confession, I actually ended up trimming that piece down a little bit more. I pulled it off of there, and before it got too stuck on there, I ended up pulling it all apart at the end and making some minor adjustments. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get done with a card and you look at it and you're like, well, I don't know. I think maybe there's just something about it that and I'm not super happy about. So, you can change it. That's usually, it's not a problem. It's your card. You make it your own. Make it your creation. I'm going to add the center panel next. I could have just laid it flat because we did put that little bit of black behind there, but I thought it would look better to just make it, to elevate it a little bit. We're going to add the fruit around the outside edge there. And so I just decided, like I said, to put some dimension adhesive behind it, just some little foam squares. So I just added kind of a whole little backing of those. I know a lot of people used just foam tape. For me personally, that's a little bit higher of a price point than I am willing to pay for a roll of adhesive. That's just my personal opinion. So I'm going to pop that into the center there, and then we will get that nice and secure. And then I'm going to come in, I'm going to arrange our little fruit pieces kind of where I wanted them to go based on, when we did our sentiment earlier. So I'll play with those for a few minutes until I get them exactly, where I want them to go. Sometimes these little details are the things that take the longest, because you want one piece to move, but you don't want another piece to move. And so when I got them all down, I went ahead and took a couple of pieces of some purple tape, and I'm going to just tape them together really quick so that I can make them all one piece, and then we'll pick those up and put our adhesive on the back of them. This way your pieces stay together the way that you want them to go when you have multiple things that you're going to glue or adhere together at one time, so it all kind of lays on as one piece instead of 3 additional pieces. I'm just making sure that that's where I want it to go. I am just going to ink up, or so I'm just going to put adhesive on the back of the orange slice and the little tomato. I thought about adding a little piece of dimension adhesive behind the grapes and stuff that are hanging off of that one center panel edge, but I decided to just let it free hang over there. It's secure enough. I didn't really need another piece of adhesive over there. So I'll just secure that down. Like I said, I just left that one edge as a free edge. And then I can come in and go ahead and peel off those. Yeah, you can see right here, I thought about it and then decided not to. I'm going to peel off our center tape. And then as our last step, I'm going to add a little bit of glossy accents to our orange slice. I just thought that that would be a fun way to make it look like the orange slice is wet. As you know, orange slices are when you cut into an orange. And that's going to wrap up the card for today pretty much. Here are a couple of close-up looks. Thank you so much for being here again today. I enjoy our time together. See you soon. Bye-bye.